Josh Weisner from Troy Lee Designs Red Bull Ducati team manager. Well, we got the news this week that Dylan not going to be lining up today, which is so unfortunate for us. Do you have a timeline on when he's expected to be back?
He had an MRI done, and the results came back negative. So he was just not feeling good enough to ride. So his thumb was a little bit weak. So we didn't want to risk further injury. And then with the week off, we figured let's just postpone and get as much time as he can to heal. So that's where we're at.
Dylan mentioned in a few places that you were waiting on a part pre-Daytona, and that made a world of difference. So what was that part? What sort of effect did it have, and how long were you actually waiting?
It was a series of parts. It was our next evolution of testing. So, but the primary part is, I'm sure all the photos and everyone knows, it was the new exhaust from Akrapovic. So that big header makes a huge difference. So that was the primary part.
At Daytona, at multiple points in qualifying, Dylan Ferrandis, he was on the board. It seemed like it was shaping up to be one of his best efforts yet this season. So was it simply the parts, or was there something else that was clicking?
I think it was a couple things. So he had been in California, the whole West Coast swing, and that was his first week back in Florida at home. So I think maybe sleeping in his own bed. And then we went out to his place and tested that whole week before Daytona. So I think just a combination of everything, the testing, the new parts, and him just being home and in his element was, we were on track to have a good night. But
Scott Yarjamoto now. I talked to Dylan in Arlington last, and he mentioned he's been like doing a lot of testing during the week, and you guys don't have another test rider. So do you have plans on getting another test rider just to like take off a little bit from your own riders?
Yes and no. There's two ways to look at it. So realistically, right now we were late to the game on test riders. So finding someone that's still fast enough is the hardest part. We're using Sealy and stuff, but he's been out of it for a few years. So it's just realistically just trying to find someone that's a comparable speed and has good feel and good feedback. So I mean, we're still actively looking, but right now, Dylan's so particular on what he wants anyway, so, it would kind of help us, but maybe not with him so much. So, but having our second rider would be the biggest help.
Josh, I heard Justin Barsha got back on a bike recently. Do you think we'll see him before the end of Supercross, or are we looking outdoors?
We're not going to put any pressure on him. His crash was major. His injuries were pretty light considering the crash, but we're not putting any pressure on him. We're just going to let it day by day and see when he's ready.
Okay, Triumph Factory Racing assistant team manager Ivan Tedesco. Ivan, we'll start with you guys. Austin Forkner not going to be returning this weekend, but what can you tell us? What's the latest with Austin?
Yeah, no Austin this weekend. He broke a bone in his hand at Houston, and it's been out for a few weeks. He's supposed to start riding this next week. The plans are for him to come back at Birmingham as long as everything goes smoothly over the next few weeks, and we'll be glad to have him back.
You and the team, you guys have been developing this 450 in real time at the highest level. What feedback from your test riders and a little bit of yourself and your athletes has been most instrumental to get to the bike where it is now?
Well, all our guys were injured this offseason, so Styles Robertson's our test rider. He did most of the development. I jumped on a little bit myself, but now that we have our guys back, we're back racing. We've been able to develop the bike more and more, and we're learning a lot every week and made some big progress this week, so excited for tomorrow.
Chalik was penalized 2 positions last weekend. Thoughts on the penalty from your perspective?
Yeah, he I guess didn't know about that rule about not stopping after the start gate, and they popped him for 2 positions, and now he knows. Now he can't do that.
Mitch from RacerX, obviously Forkner and Jordan have such a different riding style. Are their bike setups comparable, or can they learn off one another? Or is it just completely different setups for the bike?
Yeah, Jordan and Austin, they run quite a bit different setup. Jordan prefers a little bit lower in the rear. Austin prefers more weight on the front. So we've been working on that the last few weeks. Jordan's been getting more and more comfortable on the 450, and with his limited time of prepping on the big bike, I foresee him just getting better and better every week.
And then with Deacon Deno's SMX Next Win, it was the first SMX Next Win for Triumph. Obviously, you guys are trying to develop the amateur program as well as the pro program. How much does that mean to the team? Obviously, Jordan had the win in 250 West last year, but just another stepping stone for the team, right?
Yeah, Deacon, he last weekend at Daytona, getting that win was huge for him. Really good kid, works hard, and very talented, and he's been progressing since October when he got on Supercross. He's progressed very well, and I think the future is bright with Deacon.
Is there any chance we see him in Supercross this year or no?
No Supercross, maybe some outdoors once, the first couple to kind of test it out and see where he lands on outdoors. And but I'm impressed with the kid. He's got a lot of talent, and I think, like I said, I think his future is very bright.
Speaking of the outdoors, Scuba mentioned when he was last in here that the tentative plan would be for Austin to race a 450 outdoors. Why would that be tentative? What would hold you back from sending him out there?
As far as I know, because we already have Mikkel Harup on the 450 for outdoors and Jordan, so Austin will drop back down to the 250 for outdoors alongside Jalik and potentially Deacon at the first couple, and then see how it goes with him.
Hey, Ivan, you've been a part of many different factory teams, helped develop many different instrumental bikes that we know, shaped the last decade in the sport, last 2 decades. How is it for your perspective as a former racer to see what the team is capable of, how the technology has changed, and what the goalposts are?
Yeah, it's been pretty cool. Before this role, I was a test rider for 10 years after I retired, and been a part of that side for a long time, and been a part of this Triumph project from the get-go, and was helped a lot on the development of the bike. And it's cool to see we finally got a 450 on the track, and we're learning a lot every weekend. And I think by the end of the season, we'll be up front.
As far as Jordan, I think you've started to touch on this, or you might have went down this avenue. But of course, Jordan Smith coming off of injury, like you've mentioned, what goals or expectations do you have for him currently, and moving forward?
I think for Jordan, like you said, he came into he had a shoulder surgery during the off season, so his prep time was limited. So I think as of now, I think some top 10s would be our goal, and then try to just tick those boxes as we go.
Ivan, for you, this is a new role for you. You mentioned test riding and all of that, but now assistant team manager working with the riders. How do you like it? What's good and bad about your role so far?
Yeah, it's been good. I came aboard in this role on November 1st, and 4 months in, and I'm learning a lot. Really enjoying it, working with the riders on the daily, and just trying to progress from here.
After Daytona, Coca said that Jordan would be done with testing. He found a good base setup. That wasn't the case. Jordan said that he had his longest test day of his career on Tuesday. So how did that change so quickly?
Well, I think we watched some video and just talking with Jordan, he thought that we could make some improvements. So we went to work Tuesday, and it was actually a really good day. I'm glad that we did it, and hopefully tomorrow that can get him a better result.
Thank you, Ivan.
No problem.
All right, Rich Simmons from Monster Energy Yamaha Star Racing, team manager. Let's start out by talking about Cooper Webb. He's always been known to rise to the occasion in high-pressure situations. From the team's perspective, what are you seeing from him right now that continuously makes him dangerous as this championship fight heats up?
Yeah, I think we all know that he can win on any given night. It's really all those top 4 guys right now I feel like can. But, yeah, you can't sleep on Coop. We all know that he can get a start or start in that top 4 and win the race. And obviously he's determined. I think we saw that when he was on the podium 2 rounds ago, and then disappointed last weekend with the result. But we're not giving up. He's not giving up, and we'll just take it race by race.
Coop just mentioned to me that he's back on his base setting from A2 in Houston. When I asked him about going away from that, he hinted that maybe it was you guys believing that you could make it better, but that just didn't quite transpire. So can you explain a little bit about what you were looking for and why you've ultimately gone back to the base?
Yeah, we've tried to improve, and mainly the shock for him and the whoops, and a few other things, traction. There's all different types of things that come into it, but we thought we had improved. We saw some good results in Houston and Glendale, and then some things just stand out, and you always think about hey, go back to Old Trusty, and we tried it again this week. We tried a few things in Daytona that kind of pointed us that direction, and then we just put it back on, and it feels like home to him. So go out and see what he can do with it.
All right, with the first half of the season done, what would you give yourself, the team, the riders, everybody, scale of 1 to 10? You guys have had to develop a new bike, but then what you just said, developing Cooper's old one, both guys are in the top 5, Coop in the championship hunt.
It's hard to grade it, something like that on a scale of 1 to 10, but because the crew, the riders, we're all putting in the same amount of work, whether we win or we lose. From my side, I can only I would say grade myself, but I think it starts at the top, and I need to give these guys a better opportunity to succeed at the race. And, we look at all aspects of that, whether that's bike setup or, what we're watching on race day or doing on practice days. So I try to look at myself more and where I can help these guys. So, yeah, I really don't want to grade it on that scale, but, the team's always working hard as well as the riders.
Rich, as far as J Coop goes, not near the front as much this year as he was last year. And two-part question: do you think he's riding the same, and it's just doesn't get the starts? And two, we've done some clutch stuff to help with starts, but they don't seem to. It's been a little more hit and miss with J Coop. So, kind of take us through your thoughts on his year, good and bad.
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to seen him come out and start a little better. He's been known to start a little slower in the season and then pick up as it goes on. I do think we have a few guys still in the series that weren't here at this time last year. But for me, knowing Justin is, I wish he'd have a little bit more confidence in himself at the races, because we all know his skill level is there. So to me, that's just really what he needs, is some self-belief.
In that vein of self-belief, have you sensed any sort of like optimism or maybe added confidence coming back in Indianapolis, where Justin Cooper was on the podium last year, and he's been good at this venue?
Yeah, I mean, I saw it last weekend, and both Coop and Justin Cooper are really good at Daytona. Unfortunately, the results didn't show this year. Justin had a crash early in the race, but felt really good in his heat race. Even felt good in the main after he got back up. So yeah, I see that excitement and the determination to get his result this weekend.
With having only J Coop on the 2026 chassis, is it problematic for you not gathering data from two guys and all of that stuff? Do you feel like that will loom large as we enter 2027 and beyond?
No, I mean, like I said, we did a lot of testing with Cooper Webb in the offseason on it as well. So we do know the differences of, what suspension might be doing on one chassis to the other. So we can still compare our notes, because we do know those differences. If Justin's feeling one thing, Coop's feeling another. So it hasn't, caused any issues on that side. And once we go outdoors, everybody's going to be on the 26, and, Hayden's already riding the 26. Justin's been on it for a while. So we do know the characteristics of both. Yep.
Okay, Bobby Fisher from Gizmo Mods Yamaha. Let's talk about Valentin Guio from last weekend. He just, in his second ever Supercross race, got into the main event. So what are you seeing from him early? I know we're only 2 races into it for Valentin.
Well, I mean, Val is a world-class racer. I mean, everyone knows that. But at 33 years old, to take on 250 Supercross, that's a challenge in its own right. So, going out at Texas, was kind of a dream come true. You could just kind of see him take things in and work out the cobwebs. So then last week, going to Daytona, was more of an SMX style track. Felt a little more comfortable on that, and you could just see like the confidence in him, and being second fastest in the whoop sector alone. It shows the confidence that he had going into last week. So, we're just looking to carry it into this week for him.
So between, just to focus in on qualifying, it seemed like he really came alive, especially towards the end of that second qualifier. He's, like you said, the whoops was impressive. He was throwing whips. He had to have been feeling good. Has that required a lot of legwork from yourself and personnel in regards to that motorcycle to get him comfortable, or has it been more about just seat time?
I mean, it's been both, truthfully. Success, requires more urgent change than failure does. So actually, he was just riding a brand new engine at press today, so we're constantly tested. These guys are happy through the off season as things go, but then once race comes, they learn some things need to change. So, from our side, we just want to give them all the tools we can. But being a privateer based team, it's all production style stuff, over the counter stuff. We do have some capabilities of making some of our own parts, but that of course takes time, and we definitely want to put hours and some time on it before we just throw them out there. So this engine, we've we've had about 10 hours on it. We feel comfortable with. So I haven't even heard what he said yet. So I just stopped here on the way back to the truck. So we'll see. Hopefully it's better. If not, we'll go back to what he was on last week and just keep progressing.
So we got the email about Ty this morning, missing the rest of Supercross. Can you give us an update there? I guess, what that looks like moving forward. Is he going to be with you guys for motocross? I guess, do you know what that looks like yet?
Yeah, I'm not sure about outdoors, but yeah, I mean, what a bummer deal. I was actually there, the weekend of Seattle. I stayed back. I didn't go to the race. I built the bike, drove to Texas on Monday, and Tuesday, like, he was, Ty Masterpool just hammering, and of course, last session of the day his foot fell off going through the whoop section, and just the way it pulled him back, it popped his shoulder out of place, and somehow was able to save it, tank slapping, finishing through the whoops, and pulled off to the side. I was standing there with his dad and his mom, and he had never had a shoulder pop out before, so they're all kind of in shock. So I actually put him on the back of Jerry's mule and popped it back in myself, with some experience I've had in the past, being around racing. But yeah, it actually felt good, and we're hopeful that he did some PT, that he would make Texas still, but it definitely tightened up. And then last week, leading into Daytona, he actually did a little ride on the corner track, but it still felt some tightness. So he got some MRIs done, and come to find out it was a torn labrum. So he got a second opinion, and it's going to require surgery. So unfortunately, that definitely puts him out for the rest of Supercross, and he'll go back out west for recovery and therapy with Dr. G, and we'll see what that leads as summer comes.
With this being the rookie season for Valentin, is he just doing this well based upon talent? Do you have him working with somebody, or is he working with somebody, or just doing this on his own?
Yeah, he's pretty much doing it on his own. We work with Brian McDonald. He does the Dartfish with us. So all these races, we collect a lot of data and review the film during the week. But yeah, I mean, Val is like I said before, a world-renowned racer. So he's got the talent in there. It's just Supercross is its own beast, and a little bit different discipline than the GPs that he's used to. So he'll come around, and he's gaining confidence each time out.
Yeah, last question about Valentin. It's his first time with the Triple Crown. I mean, what kind of advices did you give him?
Well, at the first one, we said, yeah, take it in. It's been his dream for, since he was little, he said, to be here racing U.S. Supercross. So, and I think, that showed, he's a little starstruck and, with things like that. But, with every lap, he gets more confidence, and especially after the speed he showed last week, he had a really good week this week. Calling, texting, everything's great, thumbs up, and is in great spirits today. So, yeah, we look for the best with Val.
Okay, let's talk about your lineup of Marshall, Henry, and Derek, all of which have 6 to 10 years experience. What does an amount of experience like that, how beneficial is that for a program when you guys are a first-year team?
Exactly. I mean, experience is inevitable in a program like this. So when I came to the team, all the riders were already signed. So for me, it's a time to learn these guys, and each guy is kind of set in their ways. Everyone likes to approach their program differently with testing and riding and even training off the bike. So for me, I'm kind of letting them do their own thing. I'm not going to control them. Everyone has their own opinion on which way to do it. But for me, I'm kind of just trying to learn them. Like, we're only at round 3. And even now we're just picking them apart, picking their riding schedule apart, things like that. So I'm just kind of leaving it up to them right now and letting them kind of steer in their own ship. And if I think we need to reel it back in, we'll do that in the future.
What's the update on Alexander Fedortsov? I think he had a shoulder injury in the preseason. Can you kind of fill us in on what he's up to?
He had a shoulder injury, and then he actually, unfortunately, had a wrist injury too the first day back. So for him, it kind of sucked from the get-go. But he should be seeing a doctor here in the next 2 weeks, and I hope to have him back on a bike, within 2 weeks.
So, and you think he'll race Supercross or mostly pro motocross?
It's hard to say right now because he was quite far behind because he had 2 injuries. But for me, for sure, you'll see him back at the first round of motocross. But Supercross, we'll see how things go.
And you mentioned learning the riders, but you're familiar with Kawasaki. Has that played a role in your, knowing the bikes, just kind of knowing how that works? Has that played a big role in your, success? And
Absolutely. Like, we've got up to speed pretty quick, I think, with the Kawasaki. There's always room to grow. Like, yeah, I have a lot of experience with the older model Kawasaki's, not so much of the newer models. So it's kind of like picking things apart and the process of getting there, So we're not where I want to be. I mean, the sky's the limit when it comes to that, and it just takes a lot of time, but we'll get there. I think that our package right now is pretty good. All the guys have been in the main so far, so we just want to keep that rolling.
In a leadership and management capacity, you bring with a lot of experience to this team. So can you talk about how this opportunity came about for you and what's it been like this year?
And it's been a steep learning curve. So my experience is more technical, as a lot of team managers too. So for me, I took this opportunity just to grow with myself and learn some new skills and challenges and apply a lot of that to this team. Right now, I'd say, okay, my role is team manager, but I'm also crew chief. I'm also doing parts. I'm also ordering the motorcycles and looking after the riders. So it's good for me in a capacity for more growth. I hope down the line I can get some more employees as the team grows, just to divide a lot of those responsibilities, and I can focus more on the management side of the team. But it's been good. I wouldn't change it for the world.
I know you had mentioned that in regards to your athletes, you're kind of letting them do their thing in some aspects. I know the team based out of New York. I would assume that your racers are not up there training. So logistically, what's that been like preseason and even during the week now? I would imagine not all personnel is with your athletes during the week.
Okay, so I kind of changed the whole program up. So the program went from like a hobby team last summer, and then I came aboard. I moved the whole program to Corona, California, where I leased a test track. So we built a shop from scratch from October 1st and kind of started from the beginning. So the reason I came aboard was if I could run this program the way I believe a factory program is run, and I got the okay to do so. So hopefully we can grow a little faster compared to some other teams. But like I said, everyone's in Corona. I see them on a day-to-day basis, so it's easy to test. It's easy to control the program. So we hope to see some growth faster than the rest.
For Marshall, what's it been like with him transitioning from Yamaha to Kawasaki? And what do you feel like is maybe the next step for him to take it to the next level?
So it's the same with all the guys. They were all on Yamahas last summer. So they all had to learn the Kawasaki. I mean, we've got really good suspension. We've got good engineers that we're working with. It was just to try and get each guy comfortable, not just Marshall. So each guy had to have their own attention to detail to go in different directions. Now, I got two guys on a very similar setup, and Marshall likes his kind of own characteristic, which we're still learning and picking apart. But for him, it's still it's a good opportunity for all three guys.
Being based in California, why the decision to race East?
It was just a time thing, honestly. Like, if you knew what we were up against in October, like I took this position October 1, there was no shop, no semi, no track, no parts. My bikes arrived middle of November, and then obviously America closes for Thanksgiving. So for me to get this program ready for A1 was absolutely impossible. And the guys that know me, that I'm a realist and I wasn't going to make any promises and try and get there when we weren't going to. So for me and the team, we made a decision just to focus on East, and we're here, and we made it here, and I think we're competitive enough right now with the time that we had.
You mentioned all the riders that are on the team right now were picked before you got there, but I've been looking at the roster of staff that you have. Were those your decisions? Because there's some pretty experienced people that are out there, some newcomers that are there too. How did you pick it, and then how is everybody working together?
There's only one person that I picked, and when I came in again, I had to give everyone an opportunity and just learn everybody too. So I didn't have to learn the riders, I had to learn the crew, like the owner, the members of staff behind, like the admin people and things like that. Even it coming down to the mechanics. So like, I have quite high expectations. I was a pretty decent mechanic myself in my time, so I know what it takes to get the job done at the highest level. So for me to train these guys, it's been another piece of my puzzle that, hey, I want it done this way. No negotiations, no discussion. You do it this way, and this is the way it's going to be done. So for me, I've had to train a lot of the guys to be on that level. A couple of them have picked it up faster than others, but it's a work in progress. I did bring in one member of staff that from my days at TLD, and it was easy because I've already worked with him. I already trained him. We're on the same page. So for him to hit the ground running was easy. It was like a breath of fresh air, to be fair.
So earlier you touched on the team was based out of New York and you moved it to Corona. Knowing that you were going to race east, did you guys utilize any of the facilities out in New York or any assets out there to train?
Everything that out is there is still the Yamaha equipment from previous year. I've not even been to New York, so back to the time frame, it was like October 1st, and we just had to get going as fast as we could with what we had. So Corona that was his decision that was made, and we're still there currently. No problem.
Okay. Robbie Malinowski from ClubMX Yamaha. We'll start out with Devin Simonson. What are some positive takeaways that you and the team have got from Devin so far?
Yeah, 2 top 10s to start the season off, and then really good, consistent weeks. He's been stacking them, and just I like his demeanor, his kind of attitude and everything. He's always looking for more. Obviously, everybody's looking for more, but Devin is ready to go. I think he's going to have a good weekend.
And in that same vein, what about Cody Schock?
Yeah, Cody is, I think, starting to really get into his groove. Like I said earlier, he's not going to have those big moments. He's had a few, but it's not like it has been in the past. And I think from what I saw today in press, he looks good.
Sorry, take me back in regards to Cody. Why wouldn't we see some of those big moments?
I just think like the confidence that he has and the bike setup and everything, he's just really, gelling with everybody in the team and the whole package. So, and I think he just found himself where he's believing and confidence. So.
I feel like every year the club team takes a step, the program, the facility, everything. What do you feel like that step has been this year?
Well, I'm new, so, but looking from the past, I think just the overall team package bike, little improvements here. The bike itself, the package itself was really strong, and I think we just kind of dot the I's and cross the T's a lot on the overall package. So nothing too crazy, just a few percents better everywhere.
And then where's one area we'd like to see it improve? Maybe the bike specifically?
I think looking out to outdoors, we're going to look to try to get a little bit more power, just try to improve that motor package a little bit, and then, of course, the suspension package as well.
So you've, for a couple seasons, the team has done a YouTube series, and you've changed the name to Built Not Bought right now. So what kind of feedback do you get that from fans in the industry? Because it really does give a good look behind the scenes on a team versus a lot of riders that do it individually.
Yeah, I think it's just it's an authentic look at what's going on. It's nothing too over, produced or anything. It's really raw, and I think they appreciate that. I don't get too much noise back to me on it, but the little bits that I do hear, it's been pretty positive. And just how, like I said, how raw it is.
There are a lot of factors that are going to come into play, and there'll be a lot of light on them this weekend for Indianapolis, be it the soft, ruddy conditions, emphasis on the starts, and just everything that this Triple Crown format possesses. So did you guys change anything up this week in preparation for this weekend?
Yeah, we changed a little bit of our training and the laps and how we kind of laid them all out. Chad did a pretty good job on just getting everybody that intensity up, because it is going to be a lot of intensity, and I think that track is going to break down quite a bit. So looking at the whoops and just even the rhythms, how deep they were getting, just impressed. It's going to be a tricky track. It's not overly technical, but when you put this dirt in the mix, it's going to change a lot.
With Devin, home race from Terre Haute, Indiana, have you sensed from him that he's coming into this one with a little bit more pep in his step, maybe looking forward to this home race?
Yeah, for sure. Devin is fired up. He's excited, and like he had said, he's never been top 10 2 weekends in a row, and I think he's going to be scratching at that top 7, top 6 pretty soon here.
A little off the race weekend, but how's Ryder doing?
Yeah, doing really good. Looking to get back on a bike next week, and not sure where that puts him, but he's recovered pretty much. I'd say 90% back to 100%. Yeah. All right. Thank you.